Bobby. I think the problems are being confined mostly to the Renard cars. We'll have to keep tabs on that. Certainly not to the Penske cars, and I don't believe to the Lolas either. Let's keep an eye on that.
When you saw Christian Fittipaldi come into the pits and then go back out, you also saw him run over, not with just 2 wheels, but all 4 wheels, the hose. And so they black flag him, bring him in for a stop-and-go penalty. But as all these other people fight their problems, this guy just keeps motoring. Andre Ribeiro still the leader, and the leader now by 11 seconds over Al Unser Jr.
But I mentioned that if the suspension problems are hitting Renards, you're looking at a Renard right there. So, does trouble wait for Andre Ribeiro or not?
You know, the mechanics that set up these things, these bearings are great big ball bearings, giant ball bearings in the right rear uprights that are going bad. And it's how much preload, how the mechanics set them up. And some of the guys in there use a different type of grease than the other guys do on those bearings. They always are overused, though.
Gary Gerould as Little Al comes in.
This time it was 37 laps as opposed to 41 laps on the last tank of fuel. Not anticipating any changes on the setup. Oh, he engages the gears. The car moved forward a couple of inches, no problem. Now he's away in 13.5 seconds.
So the stop-start once again. Al Unser Jr. comes in after 37 laps out on the course. And 37 laps of green, we might add. Fastest lap of the race thus far, Parker Johnstone, lap 84, 231.7.
That is faster than qualifying. He's really raised the price of poker here at Michigan. Problem is, right rear upright went out on him.
The Mercedes-Benz has managed now 37 laps between fuel stops. The Honda, Andre Ribeiro, he's got at least 39 laps since his last stop. And Scott Pruitt, Ford Power, right now at 35 laps. You saw this car just moments ago, Adrian Fernandez, as he battled Teo Fabi, and in doing so picked up 4th place. Expect the leader in shortly. And he already begins to slow down. Andre Ribeiro in for routine service. Once again, this fellow who has never led an IndyCar race before this day, doing a terrific job.
And Paul, the one thing that the crew wants to see besides changing the tires is if they were able to cure the blistering problem. Checking the right front, no problem on this set of tires for your leader, Andre Ribeiro. So it's going to be a nominal stop. Looks to be no changes in the chassis. Looked as if they've cured the problem simply with 16.3 seconds. And I said, simply changing tire pressures.
Very smooth stop. Just past the halfway point here.
So I just want to explain that tire pressure a bit, Paul. The more air that's in it, the more the tire tries to bow out in the middle, or the more the air pushes the tire out in the middle. And that's where they were blistering. So what the tire guys would have done is just drop the tire pressure by 2 to 3 pounds.
I'm surprised. I thought that was a biased tire problem that didn't occur in the radial.
No, it affects all tires because the air is still trying to go out, and it doesn't make any difference. The radials obviously don't change the shape as much as the bias fly tires do, but they still do change it, Paul. Don't you remember a few years back?
Bobby, he is not up to speed. What's going on here? Ribeiro suddenly, when he comes out of the pits, just never came up to top speed.
We'll have
Scott Pruitt picked up the lead, but he should be in the pits any time now.
Very slow. Possibly a transmission.
Yeah, transmission is what I would bet on. He caught a gear in what looked like a funny shift to me from first to second. Or maybe it was his second to third.
He's very slow. The wing shaking is not a problem. That's just a normal thing.
And Scott Pruitt now the leader, but he's due in, and that'll turn the lead over to Al Unser Jr.
Got a clean pit in, and then they're working on the car in front, but we're in good shape.
Again, a little blistering there on the right front, Gary Gerould.
Well, we see it as he comes rolling up, Paul, and now comes to a stop. Yes, clear blister on that right front, no question.
Give you the one
We'll
turn
see
up
if
on the
Pruitt
front
talks
wing.
to Jim McGee at all on the radio. That's open. Everything else, routine. Now a change in the front wing angle attack, and it's a major change. Pruitt's rolling. 17 seconds. But the concern has got to be over the wear in those tires up front.
And what they did, Gary, is they turned up the right front wing, more downforce. They're going to put more pressure on the right front tire because he can't race as long as that thing is blistering the way it was.
Well, Paul, I'm down here with Andre Ribeiro. I asked the crew if they knew what was wrong. They shrugged their shoulders. They have taken the hood off. This looks as if it could be terminal for Andre Ribeiro. In fact, it is. He is going to get out of the car. What a tough break for this young man who had such a great ride here today in the Michigan 500. It's all over. We'll talk to him shortly.
And Al Unser Jr. is now in charge. You saw him as he came around Scott Pruitt as Pruitt was coming out of the pits. So little Al, having just made a stop, is now the leader of the race.
This is where Al Unser Jr. won his first ever oval race. It was an IROC race back in 1987.
So there's the leader of the race. We'll look back, see if we can find Scott Pruitt. It was a good 15 seconds back. And there he is. So that's the interval, first to second. Al Unser Jr. over Scott Pruitt, but a yellow flag could change that very quickly. Bryan Herta has not stopped in his third. Nothing has changed here. Al Unser Jr. is the leader, followed by Scott Pruitt, and Bryan Herta should be heading into the pits anytime now, but there's a surprise in the Tasman pit, Jack.
Well, Paul, a lot's changed down here. Andre Ribeiro had gotten out of the car, had taken his harnesses off, his helmet off, was sitting down ready to give a lengthy interview with Brazilian TV. We were to follow. And now do you hear the noise? That's Andre Ribeiro's motor. The crew went to work. They isolated the problem to the wiring harness, not the motor. And now Ribeiro scampered back into the cockpit. He is back at the controls, and they're going to send him back out. He is so excited he's having trouble getting the car started and slipping the clutch to get it into gear. It's running a little rough. And now it looks as if they're going to stop it again. Gary?
Well, Andre Ribeiro, of course, is on Firestone tires, and Al Spire is the manager of Firestone Racing. Now, we've seen wear signs on some of these fronts, most recently here with Scott Pruitt. How big a concern is this, and did it surprise you?
Well, actually, we're not concerned at all, Gary. The cars are running quite fast. Some of the laps they've been turning recently are in 224, 225 mile an hour range. We have a harder compound tire that they can go to if they want, but all of the teams that are running fast, Tasman and Scott Pruitt in the Patrick Racing car, prefer to make chassis adjustments and stick with the tire they have, and we're not concerned about it right now.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Jack?
Well, so far, Andre Ribeiro is now officially out of the race. They are going to roll it. And you can see this gentleman right here. Well, he's with Brazilian TV, and with Andre being his countryman, you give professional courtesy. They will continue and carry on the conversation in Portuguese. See if we can get in here real quickly, and we're going to listen as the interview is given. You're not. Go ahead. We want to listen in Portuguese to the interview. Excuse me? We want to listen to your interview with Andre in Portuguese.
Okay. Pois é, esse microfone é da ABC, eles querem acompanhar a nossa entrevista em português, a rede americana ABC. André, difícil, né? Você estava liderou muito essa corrida. Qual a sensação?
É um super desapontamento, mas não acaba aí, tem muita coisa pela frente. E eu tenho certeza que a gente chega lá.
Well, it's very obvious, and I don't know anything about Portuguese, but right now I'm sure Andre Ribeiro said that he was one of the most disappointed drivers ever to come down the pike. We'll talk to him after the Brazilians are through.
Yeah, but he does have a day that he can be proud of. I mean, it was a great run while it lasted. Al Unser Jr., leader of the race, has now completed 143 laps. Another man who can be proud of this day is Parker Johnstone. Gary Gerould?
Well, indeed, he can be very proud. I know it's disappointing to be on this side of the pit wall. We were down there and saw that they were having a problem with the upright on the right rear, but you also had a very close call on the racetrack when there was a failure.
Well, we really did. God was looking over us today because I had just gone under Eddie Cheever on the entry of turn 3, and the right rear upright failed and snapped me sideways, and I'm just very thankful I didn't get into Eddie. It was so bad I couldn't even make it back to the pit lane. We circled around, came in, lost all the brakes. The guys on the Motorola Cellular, Firestone, Honda Renard crew from Comtech Racing did a great job. All that Daytona experience paid off. They got the upright change. I went back out. Once again, the fastest car on the racetrack, which is a tribute to them. But the damage from the upright had damaged the brakes. And when I came in for my stop, the pedal went to the floor. And thankfully, we didn't go into the Penske crew. And unfortunately, was into a fantastic oval debut. I learned a lot, and it looks like Andre and the Tasman guys were doing a great job or have just retired as well. And I tell you, Honda's day is coming. It's just not today.
Well, he may be a rookie here in the ovals, but he got all the sponsors, he got all the teams. We're happy you're all right. Thanks, Parker.
Thank you very much. And I got to tell you, thanks to Team Penske, to Rick Mears, Al Sr., and Al Jr. for all their coaching. What a fantastic weekend for us. Thanks, guys.
Let's go to Jack.
Well, Gary, let's try and get it in English from Andre Ribeiro this time. Andre, what happened?
We had some probably electrical problems. The wires did burn, and we had to stop. We did try to come back, but then we realized it was not possible.
Describe the emotional roller coaster that you've just endured over maybe the last 5 minutes.
Well, I think we had a fantastic car. The LCI Honda car was just so much ahead of everybody else. For me, it was very easy because I was just cruising. Thanks very much, Honda, Firestone, and of course, Tasman, LCI. It was incredible feeling. Unfortunately, we had to stop a little bit early.
And we understand now, gentlemen, that Bobby Rahal's got some problems. Back to you.
Yeah, Jack, the man with the most experience in this race, 14 races, starting more than any other, was running 8th. Suddenly slowed down. He stopped only 12 laps ago, so certainly unscheduled, and he's shut the engine down already. Nothing changes on the course. Unser Jr., Pruitt, Eddie Cheever, Adrian Fernandez, and Eliseo Salazar, the top 5. Gary Gerould is now in the Rahal pits.
Well, I think it's the 4th one that I can be aware of this afternoon. It's a right rear wheel bearing once again, and we're seeing this now all too familiar scene of the crew working on the upright at the right rear. This time it's Bobby Rahal, second in points and up there challenging. He wants to stay out there. He wants to try to track down and gain points on build-up.
Gary, this time it's a Lola. We've seen most of that problem hit the Renard, so this is something new.
I was just going to remind you of that, Sam. They're all having problems except the Penske so far.
100 laps to go yet with these failures. 19 cars running. Buddy Lazier is still in the pits. They're working on his car, and they're working on Bobby Rahal's car.
Another thing you want to keep in mind, if you're wondering, we have a spin out and an accidental.
And it's Hiro Matsushita. Took a spin up in 4. And doesn't look like he touched anything. Looks like he just had a right rear go and got down on the grass. But he's kicked a lot of debris up on the track, dirt and gravel. So they're yellow. First time, very long time. This race has been running at a record pace, fastest 500 ever, 194 miles an hour. 5 miles an hour than the record set here in 1990 by Al Unser Jr. Boy, look at all the grass that he tore up. So Hiro Matsushita brings out the yellow flag at the 150th lap. Just lost it coming off of 4 and didn't touch anything, so maybe he'll get her back into the fight. We'll be back. Back under a full course caution, the leader of the race, Al Unser Jr. And under this caution, though, Al Unser Jr. comes into the pits, and that gives Scott Pruitt the lead. It's a great way to see a race hanging overhead and watching the race from the Goodyear blimp. It's the Spirit of Akron floating over this circuit here. So the leader of the race comes in. Al Unser Jr. makes his stop. Scott Pruitt picks up the lead under the yellow for Hiro Matsushita, who looks like he just had a problem with the right rear that caused him to come out of control. Let's go down to Gary Gerould. Maybe he can enlighten us on some of these tire problems.
Well, we heard from Al Spire with Firestone a short time ago. They're having wear on the right front. Leo Mel is the general manager of racing for Goodyear. You're having tire wear concerns here on the right rear. How substantial is this problem, Leo?
Well, we've had some blistered right rear tires, and we've lowered the air pressure on a number of cars. It seems to be helping. What's happening